past, we have all watched those science fiction films where AI and technology comes to a great level where it is very smart and it starts getting very violent towards human beings. In a lot of movies, for example, we will see robots and machine become so intelligent that they start to dominate the world. And they attack people, they kill people, they take their lives, they take their homes, and they take their jobs. And this is actually what we will talk about today, because these days, in 2026, we are to some extent living in that same era that we have always dreamt about in movies and in fiction. However, the replacement is happening, but not in the way that we have all remembered or imagined in the past. It's not as violent as people put it in movies. It's actually happening very quietly, very secretly. Recently, for example, a company in the United States laid off. Laid off is a word for firing. So they just asked people, hey, you're no longer working for us. And so they laid off 30,000 workers. 30,000 workers. That's the population of whole cities in some places. They laid them off one morning in a single email. So they just sent them one email in the morning to 30,000 workers, telling them at 6 a.m. before they head to work that they have been replaced by AI, that they have been fired. So this is how dangerous AI has become. It's taken jobs not in the violent way that we have always imagined, but in a secret, subtle way. And this will be the story of today's video on WooEnglish. Welcome to today's story, where we will discuss the future with AI. I think we are all using AI in one way or another, and we can all see the great potential, the great capacities and capabilities of AI. We can all see the great, wonderful things that AI has now or can do now, and we are all wondering, will my job be next? Will AI take my job next? So we will try to answer this question in a wonderful story where you will not only learn about AI and its future, where it's heading, but you will also learn a lot of vocabulary about AI and about technology. The story that we suggest today is a B2 story where you will learn vocabulary and content very suitable for B2 learners. So if you are an intermediate, this means that the story is just perfect for you, meaning that you will benefit the maximum. But if you are a beginner or an advanced student, that does not mean you will not benefit. You will still benefit in your own ways. There is always some new vocabulary, some new words, new expressions that you can learn. So this is what we do best at our channel, teaches you great English using the best method through a wonderful, engaging context. Before we go and start chapter number 1, I would love to kindly ask you and remind you to subscribe if probably you haven't yet, or if this is the first time for you watching this channel or stumbling upon this channel. If you are already one of our amazing followers that are going with us through this journey, through varied topics, we congratulate you and we thank you for your support, and we would love to ask you for a little favor. Make sure to click that thumbs up. It really helps. It's a small act, small gesture, but it really helps for the growing of the channel. Finally, if you know anyone who would love to benefit from this channel, please do share with them this clip, maybe, or this link to this video. You will definitely help them improve their English. So without further ado, let's jump to chapter number 1 and see. Is my job next? Let's see what's going on.
Chapter 1. The email came on a Tuesday morning. The email came on a Tuesday morning. Not too early, not too late, just after 9. A normal time. A normal inbox. A normal subject line. Team update meeting. 10 a.m. Daniel looked at the screen. Then he looked away. Something in his stomach tightened. There was no warning. No red sign. No angry words. Just one short message from his manager. Please join this meeting at 10 o'clock. Attendance required. He read it once, then again, then a third time. Across the room, his daughter was eating cereal at the kitchen table. She was 7 years old, and she was trying to balance one spoon on top of another. "Dad, look," she said. Daniel smiled, but only with his mouth. His eyes stayed on the laptop. Outside, the street was waking up. A delivery van stopped near the building. A dog barked somewhere below. A woman crossed the road with coffee in one hand and a phone in the other. The world was moving normally. That was the strange part. When something important is about to happen, we expect the world to change. We expect silence. We expect a sign. But most bad news arrives on ordinary mornings, with ordinary light, in ordinary rooms, inside ordinary emails. Daniel had worked for the company for 9 years. 9 years of reports. 9 years of meetings. 9 years of deadlines. He was not famous in the company. He was not a director. He was not the kind of person people wrote articles about. But he was useful. That was how he saw himself. Useful. He understood the clients. He knew which words made them nervous, and which words made them calm. He knew how to turn confusing information into clear reports. He knew how to write emails that sounded professional, but still human. He knew when a customer needed facts, and when a customer needed reassurance. For years, that knowledge had protected him. At least he thought it had. His wife walked into the kitchen, tying her hair behind her head. "You okay?" she asked. Daniel closed the email window. "Yes," he said quickly. Too quickly. She stopped. "What is it?" "Just a meeting." "What kind of meeting?" He opened his mouth. Then he closed it. He did not want to say the word. Not yet. Because once he said it, it would become real. Restructuring. That was the word companies used when something was dying, but nobody wanted to say death. They did not say, "We need fewer people." They said, "We are improving efficiency." They did not say, "Your job is no longer safe." They said, "The business is changing." They did not say, "AI can now do part of your work." They said, "We are adopting new tools." Daniel carried his coffee to the desk near the window. He opened the meeting link. The screen showed his own face first. Tired eyes. Unshaved chin. A blue shirt that looked more confident than he felt. Then other faces appeared. Maya from customer support. Jonas from marketing. Layla from translation. Sam from operations. One by one, the squares filled the screen. Nobody spoke. That was the first sign. In normal meetings, someone always talked before the meeting began. A joke, a complaint, a quick, "Can you hear me?" But this time, everyone was quiet. They were all reading the room, even though the room was digital. Then the manager appeared. He smiled carefully, not happily, carefully. "Good morning, everyone," he said. His voice was calm, too calm. "Thank you for joining at short notice." Daniel felt his thumb tapping against his knee. Once, twice, 3 times. The manager continued. "As you know, the company has been reviewing its structure over the past few months." There it was. The sentence before the sentence. Every worker knows it. Every worker feels it before they understand it. The manager spoke for several minutes before he said anything clear. He talked about market pressure, changing client needs, technology, productivity, the future. But the future, Daniel noticed, always sounded beautiful when someone else was losing something. Then came the real sentence. "We have made the difficult decision to reduce several roles across the department." No one moved. No one interrupted. The sentence sat inside the meeting like a heavy object. Reduce several roles. Not people, roles. That was another clean word. A role could disappear. A role did not have a daughter eating cereal in the next room. A role did not have rent. A role did not wake up at night worrying about bills. A role was simple. A person was not. Daniel looked at the other faces on the screen. Maya was looking down. Jonas had removed his glasses. Layla was completely still. Sam had turned his camera off. The manager kept speaking. He said the company would support them. He said the process would be respectful. He said human resources would contact each person individually. He said the company was grateful. Grateful. Daniel almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was too small. 9 years could not fit inside that word. Then, someone asked the question everyone was thinking. Is this because of the new AI system? The manager paused, only for a second. But everyone saw it. We are using a combination of strategies, he said. AI is one part of a broader transformation. A broader transformation. Daniel wrote the phrase on a piece of paper. He did not know why. Maybe because it sounded important. Maybe because it sounded empty. Maybe because it was the kind of phrase he himself had written in reports for years. Now, the phrase had come back to him, like a knife with his own fingerprints on it. The meeting ended after 23 minutes. 23 minutes to change the shape of his life. Daniel did not close the laptop. He just sat there. The screen went black after a while, and his reflection appeared in it. For the first time that morning, he looked older than yesterday. His daughter came into the room. "Dad?" He turned quickly. "Yes." "Can you help me with my shoes?" He looked at the small trainers in her hands. Pink, dirty at the front, one lace broken at the end. "Yes," he said. Of course. He knelt on the floor and tied them slowly. His hands knew what to do. Loop, pull, tighten. A simple task, a human task, a father's task. For a moment, the world became small enough to understand. One shoe, one child, one knot. Then his phone vibrated. An email from Human Resources. His name was in the first line. He did not open it. Not yet. He looked at his daughter instead. She smiled at him, completely unaware that the adult world had just shifted under their feet. "Good?" she asked. He touched the laces. "Good," he said. She ran back to the kitchen. Daniel stayed on the floor, still kneeling, still holding one untied thought in his mind. For years, he had believed that experience made him safe. He had believed that knowledge made him valuable. He had believed that if he worked hard, learned fast, and stayed useful, there would always be a place for him. But now he was not sure. Because the company did not need to hate him to remove him. It did not need to think he was lazy. It did not need to say he had failed. It only needed to find a cheaper way to get enough of the same work done. Enough. That was the word that frightened him most. Not better. Not perfect. Enough. The AI did not need to be wiser than Daniel. It did not need to understand the clients the way he did. It did not need to care. It only needed to be good enough for the company to ask a new question. How many people do we still need? Daniel stood up slowly. He opened the email from Human Resources. The words were polite. The sentences were clean. The meaning was brutal. His position was being eliminated. There would be a meeting at 2. There would be documents. There would be instructions. There would be a final date. A final date. He read that phrase twice. Then he looked around the room. The same desk. The same chair. The same coffee cup. The same window. Nothing had changed, and everything had changed. Later that afternoon, Daniel walked to the supermarket. He did not need anything important. Bread, milk, apples, small things. Things people buy when they want to feel normal. In the shop, people moved past him with baskets and phones and tired faces. Nobody knew. Nobody could see it. That was another strange thing about losing a job. From the outside, you still look the same. Your clothes do not change. Your voice does not announce the news. But inside, a quiet calculation begins. How many months of savings? How many applications? How many interviews? How many younger candidates? How many companies already using the same tools? At the checkout, the cashier asked, "Do you need a bag?" Daniel almost said no. Then he looked at the food in his hands. "Yes," he said. "I need one." The cashier scanned the items. Beep, 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 fast, mechanical, efficient. Daniel watched the machine print the receipt. For the first time, even that sound felt different. Not dangerous, exactly, but symbolic. A small machine doing a small job, a normal part of modern life. Nobody feared it anymore. Maybe that was how technology entered the world. First, it surprised people. Then, it helped them. Then, it surrounded them. Then, one day, it replaced something they thought only humans could do. Daniel took the bag and walked home. The sky was turning gray. On the way, he passed an office building with glass walls. Inside, workers sat under bright lights, looking at screens. Some were typing. Some were in meetings. Some were wearing headphones. Some looked tired. Some looked bored. Some looked safe. Daniel wanted to warn them. But what would he say? Be careful? Learn faster? Trust nothing? The machines are coming? No. That sounded too dramatic, too simple, too much like a movie. And this was not a movie. There were no robots in the street. No alarms, no metal voices, no machines breaking down doors. Just emails, meetings, budgets, tools, dashboards, managers using soft words for hard decisions. Daniel kept walking. When he reached his building, he stopped at the entrance and took out his phone. The HR email was still open. His thumb moved over the screen. He wanted to delete it, as if deleting the message could delete the truth. But the truth was already there. Quiet, polite, final. His job had not disappeared in one dramatic moment. It had been disappearing slowly for months, maybe longer, in new software, in new workflows, in reports written faster than before, in customer replies drafted by tools, in meetings where managers said, "Let's see what AI can handle." And now, the experiment had become a decision. Daniel looked up at the windows of his apartment. His daughter was somewhere inside. His wife, too. Dinner would happen. Homework would happen. Life would continue. That was both comforting and cruel. He put the phone in his pocket. Then one question rose inside him. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. But it would not leave. If a machine can do enough of my work, what part of me is still needed? And Daniel was not the only one asking. Chapter 2. The Machine That Never Sleeps. At 2 p.m., Daniel joined another meeting. This one was smaller. Only Daniel, his manager, and one woman from Human Resources. 3 faces, 3 squares. One decision already made. The woman from Human Resources smiled with professional sadness. "Daniel," she said, "first, we want to thank you for your contribution over the years." Contribution. Another clean word. 9 years became a contribution. Late nights became a contribution. Thousands of emails, reports, calls, and quiet acts of patience became one smooth sentence. Daniel nodded. He did not trust his voice yet. His manager looked down at his notes. "This decision is not a reflection of your performance," he said. Daniel almost smiled. Not because he felt better, because that sentence made everything worse. If he had failed, he could understand it. If he had been lazy, he could blame himself. But they were saying something colder. You did not fail. The system changed. The woman from Human Resources explained the next steps: final working date, severance package, company equipment, career support, online courses. Everything sounded organized, almost gentle, like a hospital explaining a surgery that had already begun. Daniel listened, but his mind stayed with one sentence from the morning meeting. AI is one part of a broader transformation. One part. How big was that part? No one wanted to say. So Daniel asked, "How much of my team's work is now being done by the AI tools?" His manager inhaled. A small movement, but Daniel noticed it. "Well," the manager said, "the tools are supporting several workflows." "Supporting?" Daniel repeated. "Yes, they help draft client updates, summarize data, prepare first versions of reports, and organize customer information." Daniel looked at him. "That was most of my job." The manager did not answer. That silence was the answer. The machine did not sit at Daniel's desk. It did not drink coffee. It did not know his daughter's name. It did not understand the quiet panic in a client's voice. It did not feel proud when a difficult report finally became clear. But it did something dangerous. It produced output. Fast. Cheap. Again and again. A manager could type a short instruction and receive a draft in seconds. A customer complaint could become a polite reply. A messy meeting could become a clean summary. A long report could become 5 clear points. Not perfect, not beautiful, not deeply human, but usable. And in business, usable is often enough. Companies do not always need excellent. They need fast. They need cheap. They need consistent. The machine offered exactly that. It never slept. It never arrived late. It never asked for a holiday. It never had a sick child. It never lost focus after 5 hours of meetings. It never said, "I am tired." It never asked for a raise. It simply waited. Quietly, ready for the next prompt. That evening, Daniel opened his personal laptop. He searched for answers. AI layoffs. AI replacing office jobs. AI productivity. The results came quickly. Articles, warnings, hopeful essays, angry comments. Some people said AI would destroy jobs. Others said it would create better ones. Some said workers had to adapt. Others said companies were using AI as an excuse to cut costs. Daniel closed the browser. He did not need a global theory tonight. He had a local fact. His job was gone. His team was smaller. The work had not disappeared. It had moved. Some of it moved to other people. Some of it moved to software. Some of it moved into a system nobody wanted to describe too clearly. That was the first lesson. AI does not always arrive as a replacement. It arrives as a tool, then as a helper, then as a workflow, then as a reason to hire fewer people, then as a reason to remove people who were once considered safe. The next morning, Daniel received a message from Maya. She had been in the same meeting. "Are you okay?" He stared at the question. A simple question. A difficult answer. He typed, "Not really. You?" Her reply came quickly. "Same. They offered me a reduced role. Less pay, more AI monitoring. I don't know what to do." So, not everyone was removed. Some people stayed. But staying did not always mean safety. Sometimes it meant a new kind of job. A job where the human became the checker, the editor, the person responsible when the machine made a mistake. Maya called him later. "They said the chatbot handles most basic questions now," she said. "And the rest? The rest comes to us." "That sounds good, doesn't it?" "No," Maya said, "because the easy questions are gone." Daniel understood. The machine took the clean pieces. The human kept the messy ones. Angry customers. Complicated problems. Unclear cases. People who had already failed with the chatbot. "So you have less work?" Daniel asked. "No," Maya said. "We have worse work." After the call, Daniel opened his resume. The first line stopped him. Senior Client Communications Specialist. Senior. Specialist. Communications. 3 words that once made him feel safe. Now he wondered what they meant. Could AI write client communications? Yes. Could it summarize complex information? Yes. Could it create first drafts faster than him? Yes. Could it understand when a client was pretending to be calm, but was actually close to leaving? Maybe not. Could it carry responsibility for the result? No. There. That was something. Responsibility. The machine could produce, but it could not be accountable. If a message damaged a client relationship, the AI would not attend the difficult call. A human would. But would companies pay 9 people for responsibility if 3 people and a machine could produce enough? Daniel looked at the word again. Enough. Not perfect. Enough. And he understood the danger. The machine did not need to be better than him. It only needed to be good enough to change the question. How many people do we still need? That night, Daniel opened one of the AI tools his company had used. A blank box appeared. A blinking cursor. Waiting. He typed, Help me understand which parts of my job can be automated and which parts still need human judgment. He did not press enter immediately. Part of him felt angry. Part of him felt ashamed. The thing that had weakened his position was now being asked to help him survive. But survival is not always clean. Sometimes survival begins with touching the thing you fear. Daniel pressed enter. The answer appeared in seconds. Fast, organized, useful. And that was the problem. It was useful. The machine did not sleep. The machine did not wait. And workers who wanted to survive could not afford to sleep through the change. Chapter 3. The jobs that felt safe. For most of his adult life, Daniel believed in a simple promise. Learn more, work harder, become useful. Then the world will need you. It was not a childish belief. It was the belief that built millions of lives. Parents repeated it at kitchen tables. Teachers wrote it on classroom walls. Universities sold it in brochures. Study. Get a degree. Build experience. Use your mind. That was the promise. And for many years, it seemed true. Machines could lift heavy boxes. Machines could scan products. Machines could repeat simple actions again and again. But office work felt different. Writing felt different. Analysis felt different. Translation felt different. Design felt different. The mind felt human. And so, the mind felt safe. That was why the shock was so deep. AI did not arrive only for factory workers. It entered the office. Quietly. Through a browser tab. It entered the inbox, the spreadsheet, the design file, the customer chat, the legal document, the code editor. And suddenly, people who had spent years becoming safe began to ask a question they had never asked before. What if my job was not safe? What if it only looked safe because the right machine had not arrived yet? 2 days after losing his job, Daniel met Layla at a small cafe near the train station. It was raining. Not heavily. Just enough to make the windows look tired. Layla had been a translator for 12 years. Arabic, French, English, sometimes Spanish. She translated contracts, medical documents, marketing texts, and government forms. She was not simply changing words from one language to another. She understood tone, risk, culture, power. A sentence could sound correct and still be wrong. A phrase could be grammatically perfect and socially dangerous. Layla knew these things. That was why clients used to pay her. Now, many of them sent her AI translations and asked her to just check them. Just. That small word had begun to insult her. Just check this. Just correct a few things. Just make it sound natural. As if her 12 years of training were now only a final cleaning service. She placed a folder on the table. I lost 2 more clients this morning, she said. Daniel looked at her. What happened? They said their team will use AI first. Then they will contact me only for important documents. That sounds like they still need you? Layla gave a tired smile. They need me less. She opened the folder and showed him 2 pages. One was an AI translation. The other was her corrected version. At first glance, they looked similar. Same paragraphs, same structure, same general meaning. But Layla pointed to one sentence. This word is technically correct, she said, but here it sounds aggressive. Then she pointed to another line. This phrase is too direct for a formal letter. It could embarrass the client. Daniel looked again. Now he could see it. Not all of it, but enough. The AI version was clean, fast, impressive, and slightly dangerous. Layla closed the folder. The problem, she said, is not that AI is always right. She looked out at the rain. The problem is that it is right enough for people who cannot see what is wrong. That sentence followed Daniel home. Right enough for people who cannot see what is wrong. It was not only translation. A report could look professional and still miss the most important risk. A design could look beautiful and still fail to speak to the right audience. A legal summary could sound confident and still hide a dangerous gap. A customer reply could sound polite and still make the customer feel ignored. The machine could produce the surface, but the surface was not always the work. Sometimes the real work lived underneath, in judgment, in doubt, in responsibility, in knowing when something looked fine but felt wrong. That evening, Daniel spoke with Nikhil, a junior programmer. Nikhil was 24, smart, fast, nervous in the way young workers are nervous when they want to prove they belong. They are pausing junior hiring, Nikhil said. Are you being let go? No, not now, but my manager said senior developers can move faster with AI coding tools, so they need fewer juniors. Daniel understood the logic. It was brutal. Junior workers were not only paid to produce, they were paid to learn. To make mistakes under supervision, to handle small tasks until they understood bigger ones, to become senior one day. But if AI handled the small tasks, where would beginners begin? Nikhil's voice became quiet. How am I supposed to become experienced if the entry-level work disappears? Daniel had no answer, because that question was larger than Nikhil. It belonged to an entire generation. For decades, work had a ladder. Start low, learn, improve, move up. Now, some of the lower steps were becoming software. What happens to a ladder when the first steps disappear? That night, Daniel opened his notebook. He wrote a list of jobs that had once felt protected. Translator, copywriter, designer, junior programmer, research assistant, customer support agent, legal analyst, financial analyst, teacher, consultant. He did not cross them out. That would have been too simple. Instead, he wrote one sentence beneath them. No job is safe because of its title. Then he added another. A job is safer only when its value is hard to copy. He looked at the sentence for a long time. AI was not only challenging workers, it was challenging the story workers had been told. The story that education alone would protect them. The story that experience alone would save them. The story that office work was naturally safe. Maybe those stories had once been useful. Maybe they had once been true enough. But now, they were not enough. And when an old story stops protecting people, society needs a new one. Chapter 4. Retraining sounds easy.
So now we have listened to chapter 1, 2, and 3. Before we go to chapter number 4, I always like to take a little break, take a deep breath, maybe drink a glass of water, and let's try to remember some of the words that we have learned through the 3 first chapters. So if you can do me a favor, pause this video, go to the comment section, and try to use a new word you learned today in a complete sentence. If you can use 2 words in one sentence, that would always be a great thing. This is how we recommend you use our videos. Listen and try to take notes of new vocabulary, but try to use them. If you just take notes, maybe the next day you will forget, but if you use the vocabulary that you learn on the spot, you will remember it better. Before you go, also would love to ask you kindly to click the like button, maybe activate that bell icon, and before you go, subscribe if you haven't yet. Let's go to chapter number 4 and see how the story of AI and jobs is going to end.
The next morning, Daniel woke up before the alarm. Not because he had slept enough. He had not. He woke up because his mind was already working. Before his eyes opened, the questions were there. How long will the severance last? How many jobs should I apply for today? Should I take an online course? Which course? AI for business? Data analysis? Prompt engineering? Digital marketing? Everything looked possible. And that was the problem. Too many options can feel like freedom. But when you are afraid, too many options feel like a room with no doors. Daniel reached for his phone. It was 5:42 a.m. The apartment was silent. His wife was still asleep. His daughter's room was dark. He opened a job website, then another, then another. The words looked familiar, but different. AI assisted, automation friendly, data driven, fast-paced environment, comfortable using AI tools, digital transformation mindset. The jobs were not saying AI has taken over. They were saying something quieter. If you do not know how to work with AI, you are already behind. At 6:15, his wife turned toward him. You're awake? Yes. Did you sleep? A little. She looked at the phone in his hand. Jobs? He nodded. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Marriage teaches people to hear the words that are not said. She did not ask, "Are we in trouble?" He did not say, "Maybe." But both of them felt the question in the room. "We have some savings," she said. "I know." "And the severance." "Yes." "We'll manage for a while." For a while. That phrase did not comfort him. It measured time. A few months, maybe. Not forever. Daniel put the phone down. "I need to retrain." His wife looked at him carefully. "In what?" He almost answered. Then he realized he did not know. That was the cruel part. Everyone said the word like it was a door. Retrain, reskill, upskill, adapt, pivot. But behind the word was a maze. What should he learn? How fast? Who would trust him after he learned it? Would a certificate be enough? Would younger candidates still look cheaper, faster, and more natural with the tools? He rubbed his face with both hands. "I don't know," he said. And those 3 words felt heavier than the layoff email. Later that day, Daniel attended an online session. The title sounded strong. Your AI Career Transition Plan. The instructor appeared with bright lights, perfect sound, and a bookshelf behind him. He looked calm, confident. Successful in the way people look successful when they sell advice to frightened people. "First," the instructor said, "you must change your mindset." Daniel leaned back. Mindset. He had heard that word too many times. It was not wrong, but it was often used too easily, as if fear was just a bad habit, as if a mortgage could be solved by confidence, as if age, debt, family, language, and location were small details. The instructor continued. The future belongs to people who adapt. Again, not wrong, but incomplete. Daniel wrote in his notebook, "Adaptation is easier when you have money." Then he underlined it, because this was the part many speeches ignored. A young person can try, fail, move cities, study at night, and start again. A person with children, rent, debt, and tired eyes does not adapt in the same way. A person with savings can take a risk. A person without savings has to survive first. A person with good internet and a quiet room can learn faster. A person working 2 jobs cannot watch a course after midnight and call it opportunity. Retraining sounds easy from a stage. It feels different at a kitchen table with bills beside your laptop. That evening, Daniel joined a video call with 3 former colleagues. Maya, Layla, Jonas, 4 people, 4 screens, 4 different kinds of fear. Maya had kept her job, but her work had become heavier. Layla was losing clients slowly. Jonas still had a salary, but twice the pressure. Daniel had lost his role completely. For a few minutes, they joked badly about corporate language, broader transformation, strategic alignment, efficiency journey, human-centered change. That one made them laugh. Then the conversation became serious. "What are you doing now?" Maya asked. "Trying to learn AI properly," Daniel said. "Same," Jonas replied. "But I hate that I have to." Layla nodded. "I use it every day now, and every day I feel like I am training my replacement." Nobody argued, because the sentence was too honest. The word retraining suddenly sounded smaller than the problem. They were not only learning tools, they were rebuilding identity. A translator becoming an editor of machine language. A marketer becoming a curator of endless drafts. A support agent becoming an emotional firefighter. A communications specialist becoming an AI workflow manager. These were not simple upgrades. They were different relationships with work, different rhythms, different forms of dignity. Jonas leaned closer to the camera. "Can I say something ugly?" "Please," Layla said. "At least ugly is honest." "I think some people will adapt, some won't, and companies will pretend it was a personal choice." No one answered. The public story would be simple. The adaptable survived. The resistant disappeared. But real life was not that clean. Some people had time. Others did not. Some had networks. Others were alone. Some had partners who could support the family. Others were the only income. Some were 25. Some were 58. The word adapt covered all of them, but it did not treat them equally. After the call, Daniel opened a blank document. He wrote at the top, "How I survive the next 12 months. Not beautiful, but honest." He made 5 sections: health, money, skills, network, portfolio. He put health first, because if he broke down, the other sections would not matter. He did not feel inspired. He felt tired. But tired action was still action. And sometimes that was enough for one night. 1 week later, a former client sent him a message. "We are testing AI for client communications. Could you help us create guidelines so our team knows when to use it and when not to?" Daniel read it twice. Guidelines. When to use it. When not to. For the first time, someone was not asking him to compete with the machine. They were asking him to judge it. That was different. He opened his notebook. Tasks AI can do. Tasks AI can help with. Tasks humans must own. He replied carefully. "Yes, I can help with that." Then he stopped. The old Daniel would have written the whole proposal alone. The new Daniel opened an AI tool. He asked it for a simple outline. It produced one in seconds. He changed half of it, deleted the empty phrases, added client risk, added tone control, added human approval rules. The machine gave him structure. He gave it judgment. For the first time, the relationship felt less humiliating. Not safe, not equal, but useful. That night, Daniel wrote one sentence at the bottom of his plan. Retraining is not a slogan. It is a survival process. Then he added another. And survival should not be left to the worker alone. He was still unemployed, still uncertain, still afraid. But fear was no longer the only voice in the room. There was another voice now. Quiet, tired, imperfect, but present. Learn. Not because it is easy. Not because it is fair. Not because it guarantees success. Learn because the future is hungry, and you must not let it eat you without a fight. But learning the tools was only one part of the answer. The harder question was still waiting. If AI could do more and more of the work, what could humans still do better? Chapter 5. What humans still do better. The message from the former client arrived on a Thursday afternoon. Daniel was not expecting it to matter. Most messages did not matter now. They were polite or automatic, or full of words that sounded hopeful and meant nothing. Thank you for your application. We were impressed by your background. We have decided to move forward with other candidates. Daniel had learned the language of rejection quickly. Soft, professional, empty. So when the client wrote again, he opened the message with a tired heart. But this one was different. Could we meet tomorrow? Daniel read the line twice. The client's company had started using AI for customer communication. At first, the results looked excellent. Fast replies, clean summaries, professional tone. Managers were pleased. Costs went down. Everything looked like progress. Then the complaints began. Not many, but enough. One customer said the reply felt cold. Another said the company had misunderstood the real problem. One important client became angry after receiving an AI-assisted email that used the right words in the wrong emotional moment. The right words. The wrong emotional moment. Daniel leaned back. There it was, the invisible part of the work. Timing, tone, risk, history, relationship, human weight. The meeting was the next morning. Daniel wore the same blue shirt he had worn on the day of the layoff. This time, it did not feel like a costume. It felt like a decision. The client joined first, then 2 managers, then a younger employee Daniel did not know. Her title was AI Operations Coordinator, a job title that would not have existed a few years earlier. The client smiled. Daniel, thank you for joining. We need help building rules for when our team should use AI and when a human needs to review the message. Daniel nodded. That is the right question. One manager leaned forward. We thought the right question was how to make AI faster. Daniel looked at him. Speed is useful, but speed is not the same as judgment. The room became quiet. not uncomfortable, interested. Daniel continued. AI can produce a reply, but it does not carry the relationship after the reply is sent. The younger employee began typing. For the first time in weeks, someone was writing down Daniel's words, not to close his roll, but to use his judgment. He shared his screen. The document title was simple. Human Review Rules for AI Customer Communication. Under it, he had written 3 questions. What is the risk? What is the emotion? Who is responsible? He explained the first one. If the message is low risk, AI can help more. A delivery update, a simple confirmation, a repeated question. But if the message involves money, anger, trust, or a long client relationship, a human should review it. Then the second question. AI can sound polite, but politeness is not always enough. If a customer feels ignored, a perfect sentence can make the situation worse. Then the third. If the message creates a promise, changes a relationship, or could damage trust, a human must own it. The younger employee looked up. Own it, she repeated. Yes, Daniel said. AI can suggest. AI can draft. AI can summarize, but it cannot be accountable. Accountable. The word stayed in the meeting. Not loud, but strong. After the meeting, Daniel did not feel saved. One meeting does not rebuild a career. One client does not solve a market crisis. But something had changed inside him. For weeks, he had seen AI as a wave moving toward him. Now, he saw it differently. AI was pressure. It pressed on weak tasks. It pressed on repeated work. It pressed on workers who could not explain their value clearly. It pressed on companies that cared more about cost than quality. Pressure does not destroy everything, but it reveals what is fragile. Daniel understood that his old job had been fragile in places he had not noticed. Too much of it had been draft work. Too much of it had been repeated structure. Too much of its value was hidden inside ordinary output. He had trusted the title, Senior Client Communications Specialist, but the title had not protected him. The value beneath the title had to be named, sharpened, proved, moved higher. That afternoon, Daniel wrote a sentence in his notebook. Do not compete with AI at what AI makes cheap. Then he added another. Compete where human judgment changes the result. A translator might say, I translate. But maybe her real value is protecting meaning across cultures. A teacher might say, I explain grammar. But maybe her real value is noticing why a learner has stopped trying. A designer might say, I make visuals. But maybe his real value is understanding taste, audience, and emotional timing. A support agent might say, I answer questions. But maybe her real value is calming conflict before it becomes a lost customer. The task is visible. The value is often hidden. AI attacks the visible part first, so humans must make the hidden part visible. A week later, Daniel met Layla again. Same cafe, same corner table. This time, no rain. "I changed my offer," she said. "How?" "I stopped selling translation only." She opened her folder. The first page had a new title. AI Translation Risk Review. Daniel smiled. "That sounds expensive." "It should be," she said. Clients could still use AI for first drafts, but now Layla offered something more specific. Risk review. Cultural sensitivity check. Final human approval. High-stakes document correction. Client-facing language protection. Daniel listened carefully. "You moved up the value chain." Layla wrote the phrase down. For the first time in weeks, she looked less defeated. Not safe, but sharper. That evening, Daniel wrote a new page in his notebook. How I build value. That AI cannot easily replace. 1. Use AI every day, but never trust it blindly. 2. Move away from tasks that are only fast output. 3. Build proof of judgment, not only proof of activity. 4. Learn to explain human value in business language. 5. Stay close to people, because trust is still a human economy. He read the list. It was not dramatic. It would not fit on a motivational poster. Good. He no longer wanted slogans. He wanted tools that did not lie. His daughter looked up from her drawing. "Dad?" "Yes." "Are you still worried?" He looked at her. "Yes," he said. "A little." "About work?" "Yes." She pushed her drawing toward him. It showed 3 people and 1 strange square robot. Daniel smiled. "Is that me?" "No," she said. "That's the robot." "Then where am I?" She pointed to one of the people. "This is you. You are telling the robot what to do." Daniel looked at the drawing. The robot was large. The people were small, but the people were holding the map. For the first time in a long time, he did not ask if he was next. He asked a better question. What can I become next? AI may change the price of work. It may change the speed of work. It may change the shape of work. But it does not have to decide the meaning of work. That question still belongs to us. For now. And maybe that is the work humans must fight hardest to keep.
And with this, we come to the end of the story of AI. It was a great book. It was a great story and a actually quite scary one, because I think a lot of you now are wondering if my job will be the next. Will I lose my job to AI? A lot of jobs have been lost to AI. Different fields now are struggling, including programmers who actually started all this AI thing, and some of them are now struggling to find a job because AI can do the very thing that its programmers did in the past. So my question, or the last question I would love to end with: do you think your job is safe? Do you think your job will remain there for a few coming years? Or do you think it's very, very near, it's coming towards you, AI is going to take your job in the very near future? So is your job safe, or is your job not safe? Let us know in the chat. Go to the comment section, write for us what do you think. Why do you think your job is safe? Why do you think your job is not safe? What do you plan to do? Try to use some vocabulary from today's session. Before we end this video, let me very kindly remind you, if you want to learn best, if you prefer PDF formats, you can always go to our website, www.WooEnglish.com. You will find all our stories, including today's story, in PDF formats. Download it, it's yours, read it on your own time when you are offline. Maybe put some pen to the paper and try to highlight, underline, use some pen on our stories, and of course keep it with you to remember and to review from time to time. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, like, share this video, and let's meet in another video and another topic on Woo English.